Hello from
Hello,
Mexico.
Indonesia.
Welcome everyone. We should be starting very soon. I'm looking for my co-facilitator, Jan Thomas. I see Natalie here on the screen. Hi, Natalie. I'm looking for my co-facilitator.
Welcome,
Maria.
everyone.
I don't
Hi,
see
everyone.
Maria. Maria is here.
Hello, hello. Hi.
Hello, welcome, colleagues. The numbers are still going up in the room. 173 participants for now. We're ready to start. As soon as Jan Thomas joins the room, we'll be ready to start. He's going to be my co-facilitator of the day. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon to you. Good evening for colleagues from different parts of the world. It's morning here in New York. I logged in from New York. My name is Polixenia. I'm the Surge Academy coordinator. And I will be co-facilitating this 45 minutes with Jan Thomas Himstra. Still looking for him in the room. I don't see him yet. I hope he joins soon. Jan Thomas is the UNDP Crisis Bureau team leader for country support management team, and he's a seasoned surge advisor. And my good friend Natalie, who's a learning analyst with the Crisis Academy, and Maria Kokodva, who's also a deployment analyst within the same team. This session in the next 40 minutes, it's a co-created session where you will have the opportunity to learn a bit more about UNDP surge mechanism for those of you who know already or who wants to learn more. We're gonna start by watching a short video, then we'll play a game on a very easy platform called Quizzes, very easy to work with. You will have more opportunities to earn points there, and that will add up on your dashboard towards the prize. And at the end, we're gonna wrap up with some questions and reflections. I don't see my co-facilitator in the room. I don't know where he is. I'm gonna look for him, but in the meantime, if Natalie is ready, we're ready to see a short video. Ready to jump on a plane in 24 hours and head straight into a crisis? Since 2020, we've seen more crisis deployments than ever before in UNDP's history. Ukraine, Afghanistan, Haiti, Mozambique. Crises are now intersecting and becoming more complex and more frequent. When development progress is hindered or reversed by crisis, UNDP stays and works to co-create solutions for response and recovery. From day one. Countries in crisis need immediate access to the right people and the right tools to create a plan for moving forward and leaving no one behind. UNDP acts before the crisis even hits. We prepare surge advisors for deployment to support country offices in the immediate aftermath of crisis.
This is about us learning from one another.
Learning starts with induction, continues through the community, and finds solid grounds through crisis deployments. Surge advisors are experts across 28 profiles, including operations, programming, and communications.
You know, we've seen some pretty horrible things. We are meeting sometimes communities and people at their worst moments. The hardship and emotional pressure. These are human beings that deserve your attention, your expertise, and your heart.
Surge Academy prepares and continuously nurtures surge advisors for rapid deployment through experiential learning and collaborative networking of specialized talent.
Sometimes you go to beautiful places, but in the worst time. The coolest thing about doing search missions, all the people and the contacts that you made and the network and all these nice people that you meet.
Thank you, Natalie. The people we serve are human beings who deserve our attention, our expertise, and our heart. That is the key to the message that we have just seen. We are, as Surge advisors, we're deployed in the field to bring our skills, our knowledge, our expertise, but also to bring our attitude and our heart to the countries that we support. Let's start the conversation from there. And let's see who are Surge advisors and how they bring added value in the response to a crisis. UNDP Surge advisors strengthen country office crisis response capacity by integrating long-term perspective, innovation, and agility to reduce the chances of future catastrophes, so prevention, and to maintain the development gains. Surge advisors are UNDP staff who are trained, who are equipped with the right skills, knowledge, and attitudes to bring innovation and agility to country offices. So the UNDP country office, we say that Surge advisors are the kind of people who run into crisis. They're not afraid of that. Rather than running away from crisis, they're passionate, they're committed, they're skilled, they're ready to jump on a plane in 24 hours when they receive a call. So from that premises, I would like to invite you to play together a game. We will unpack what Surge support brings to crisis, to our work in crisis, and you will have the opportunity to win more tokens in your dashboard and to contribute to earning the prize. Everyone who plays the game gets points. So we will use a platform called Quizzes, which is very easy to use and intuitive. If Natalie is ready to share her screen and to share in the chat the link to the game, please click the link in the chat. A new window will be open. You will have to add your name and hit submit. Natalie, over to you to start the game when you're ready. Don't be fooled. You will see the screen with Natalie sharing the game, but you will have to click on the link in the chat and play the game. We see the numbers are rising in the game. 70 people, 90 people are joining. Perfect, thank you.
So click the link, right, everybody?
Yep. Click the link.
Almost there, I think. Yeah. Good.
Super. 153 participants. Ready to earn some points? Ready to start the game? Jan Thomas, are you ready?
I am. I hope I will get some points also because I've been very, very zero so far.
The first question of the game is an administrative one. We will kindly ask you to insert your email address, the one that you have registered with, just for us to match the points on your dashboard with the points that you earn now. So please insert the email address that you registered with. That's the first question.
I like the sound. Every time somebody puts something, you get a little pop. Yeah. Email address. Otherwise, your tokens cannot be assigned. Not in the chat, please. In the game.
In the game.
Antonio, in the game, not in the chat.
Click the link.
Click the link and then go to the game in another screen. And there you put your email address. We know your email address. Don't worry. The game doesn't know it.
We have 16 more seconds to input your email address. I see 11 colleagues haven't done that yet. And then we will start with the first question in the quiz. We're ready to start with the first actual question. Natalie?
Can I please, I'm trying to copy the link that you sent so that I can insert my email address, but it doesn't appear anything. Can I write my email address in the chat room?
Maria will help you bilaterally with that. Maria, our pipes officer, will help you with that because we're already on the first question. How many UNDP surge advisors are deployed annually as an average? You'll have to choose the option that you think is correct.
Tick, 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 tick.
We have a few more seconds, 11 seconds. Let's see on the chart view. Super, these are the points that you just earned. And we see that 95 of you have got the correct answers. We have an average of 80 UNDP surge advisors deployed to country offices in crisis. UNDP supports about 15 active crises per year. We have 28 surge profiles that vary from different technical expertise. The profiles that are on top are recovery experts. The recovery advisors are the most deployed surge advisors, followed by communications, operations advisors, HR, and procurement advisors. I will hand it over to Jan Thomas to talk a bit about UNDP's role in crisis and why do you think the 5 top profiles are mostly operations profiles?
Yeah, that's maybe unexpected, huh? When UNDP finds itself in crisis, and I think it is for other organizations as well, we find that the operations side of things suddenly becomes so much more important even than the program side of things. That's why a lot of our surge advisors are operations profiles, procurement, HR, logistics, IT, very often as well. And I can explain. But first, I mean, the most important question we always face in the Surge Academy is why is UNDP doing this in the first place, right? Why send people to Ukraine? Why reinforce our offices in Afghanistan? Shouldn't we just leave for a while, leave the humanitarians to do their work, and then to come back in 1 year when the trouble is over, right? And that's the most important question. And in fact, I mean, for the UNDP staff in the room, you need to have an answer to this, right? Because I'm sure you will be asked 200 times in the next few weeks, right? I mean, this is the big question. Now, the answer is the following, at least in my words, right? When I find myself in the elevator with somebody and I say, no, there are no humanitarian crises, right? Crises for the same token are development crises, right? Many of the crises, of course, they have so many affected people, maybe people dying, maybe people in hospitals, maybe people scared and on the run. But that doesn't mean it's a humanitarian crisis, right? Not always. It has the same features of a development crisis. And that's why a development organization needs to be there on the spot from day one. Now, our advantage in UNDP is that we have country offices in every country in the world, right? So even when a disaster strikes, we are already there for the last 20, 30 years. We know the government, we know civil society, we know the private sector there. We've been around. And that positions us so nicely to work on development in the middle of crisis. My former boss, also in the Crisis Bureau, she always said the building blocks of development are already put in place in very early days after the crisis, right? So that's when sometimes when I call a surge advisor and you say, you have to jump on the plane because we need you in Afghanistan in 2-3 days, I feel actually honored. I feel proud because that is for me is the actual embodiment of that. We need to be right there. Of course, our country offices can do it, but very often they are also very much affected by these types of crises, right? And that's why we reinforce, we send them in. And that's what the Surge Academy is all about, to have a number of people in UNDP who know these things. Polly said they are running into crisis. I even up it a bit, running into crisis with a smile, right? not because we're suicidal, not because we like crisis. It's horrible, right? The situation in Ukraine and Afghanistan, but because we have a feeling and a heart for the people there. And we believe that we cannot only leverage humanitarian solutions, right? In those situations, we really have to start building on development. And that's what UNDP Surge staff do. Polixenia, is that a good explanation?
I think we're ready to move to the second question. Colleagues are eager to earn more points.
Okay, of course. Sorry to take time. You need to go for your points, of course.
The second question is, a surge advisor is a trained, skilled, and agile UNDP personnel, always ready for rapid deployments, deployed to support UNDP country offices navigating a crisis, or deployed to lead UNDP country offices navigating a crisis. Select all options that apply. It could be 1, 2, 3, or even all 4. Click on the tile that you see on the screen.
So multiple options are allowed here, right?
Multiple.
Could be more right answers.
Would be more right answers. 5 more seconds. Let's see the chart view, the leaderboard. Indeed, the correct answer. So there's 117 of you who got the correct answers.
Yeah, but if I may interrupt, the option that we had multiple answers to give should have given prior to the ending of the question. So just for future reference.
Thank you for that, Admir. Thank you for that. We'll give better instructions in the next question. So as you have seen, surge advisors are deployed to support country office. They work in a team, and the part of that team, the country office is part of the team that they're working. They're not there deployed to lead the UNDP country office. Jan Thomas, any reflections on how UNDP surge advisors are deployed in the field, and what is their role while they come into the country office?
Well, clearly, as I mentioned already before, I mean, UNDP country office have their management, right? And very often, or most often, they are intact, even in the middle of crisis. So surge advisors never go there, unless, of course, specifically assigned to be RRAI or deputy or something. Otherwise, we support country offices, right? We join country offices, join them in their teams, and help out in any front possible. And this is important because we need to work on crisis in an organized manner, right? We cannot just send 10 people to an office and say, oh, why didn't you start roaming around, doing some decision making, clicking some buttons in Atlas, setting up a project here and there. We want to be organized. We want to be planned. And this is where our systems come in place. And this is what you learn when you become a surge advisor and go to our training course and join our network. We have systems for crisis response. Believe it or not, these things of the crisis, let's name a few recent ones on which I'm currently working still. Afghanistan, Pakistan floods, Ukraine war. I mean, they look very different, but in terms of how UNDP gets its act together, we actually have rules for that. We know how to do that. In the first place, I want to mention the crisis board. We have a specific meetings that the whole organization gets together about what to do in this kind of country, right? It's very important. And I know there were times in UNDP when we didn't have it, when indeed many people were doing different things, not knowing of the others that they were doing it. And that's, of course, that is not good for UNDP. So getting together as an organization to fully support that country office to crisis board. Secondly, we also have surge planning. I mean, that's an interesting task that you will learn when you come to the Crisis Academy. So the Surge Academy, particularly, surge planning. I always say, and I've always said, I mean, even in the short term, any plan is better than no plan, right? If you have no plan, you cannot rally the troops. You cannot put people in the same direction because we don't know where we're going, right? Even for 3 months, UNDP needs to have a plan. And the surge plan is such kind of a plan. It's a short-term plan on how can we put ourselves on the map for the poor people of Pakistan, for example, in a minimal amount of time, with surge advisors, with track 3 funding, with all kinds of things that we have at our disposal. Surge planning is an art in itself and very interesting. I'll get that in a sec. And then, of course, we have surge advisors. That's a standing pool of people that can be called at any time, I would say day or night, to support these planned efforts of UNDP. So if you want to know about our systems, you go to the standard operating procedures for immediate crisis response. There you will see some graphs and some text, and you will understand that UNDP works in a systematic manner. Now, I mentioned Pakistan, and accidentally, it's not an accident, of course, we arranged it. Shakil is with us because the latest surge plan in UNDP was done for Pakistan, and Shakil was the main planner on the team, a surge planner. Shakil, where are you?
Hi, Jan Thomas, I'm here.
Hey, there you are, popping up on the screen right here. Shakil, these systems of UNDP's crisis response, which you were not totally familiar with before Pakistan, right? What have you learned about them? Are they good? Does that help? Are we working systematically, or are we just jumping in and doing whatever?
Thank you, Jan Thomas, and good to see so many colleagues, and very happy to be part of this this event. Yes, this was a new thing for me because my background is more from the policy context. I was a head of the policy some time back, and now I'm based in Bangkok doing a completely different job. So to go to Pakistan as a surge advisor and to lead the team, it was completely a different experience for me. Frankly speaking, even I did not have much background knowledge about the whole process. The way I think I saw the process, it was quite a smooth process. I mean, I must say that I was pleasantly surprised with the kind of agility and the effectiveness of this whole process. I mean, I've been in UNDP for quite some time now, so we do have our own constraints and we have our own issues in terms of our processes. But I think the way the surge planning process went for Pakistan, it could not have been more smoother than the way it was done. I had a great experience, and I would happy to kind of share more about that.
And you weren't even trained, Shakil, right? You were not a surge advisor before. We're putting you on the next surge advisor training course, of course, right? Now that you've done all this.
Exactly. And I would say that was, I must say that, that was a kind of risk that, the organization took, I would say. The regional bureau as well as the crisis board. When they assigned me as a surge advisor, frankly speaking, I was a bit nervous because, I was doing it for the first time. But I must say that, that was also a good experience in the sense that I was not bringing any kind of preconceived ideas. Everything was new for me, but also, Jan Thomas, I remember when you gave us that briefing on the process.
We took you by the hand, right?
You took us, but you also gave us the flexibility, right? I mean, you said, look, there is a template, but you can come up with your own ways of doing this. But at the same time, you had a surge advisor with us. I mean, Rebecca was with us, and she was also kind of hand-holding us throughout the whole process.
We often compose those teams, right? Even when people are new to surge systems, we can always link them up with a couple of people who know them inside out, right? And Shakil was the right person to represent the Bureau also, because it's very important. And of course, Shakil had an advantage, which maybe you see from his name, but he knows Pakistan very well, right? And he even went there for a second mission a bit later on because they couldn't do without him. So great to hear from you, Shakil. That was a great experience. but you heard it. I mean, we have our systems. We pull people behind those systems, and we can be extremely successful in doing it. And never forget, when you embark on such complicated stuff, always make a plan, right? Even in the airplane, on the back of an envelope, any plan is better than no plan. Otherwise, you're running around like a headless chicken, and also a country office will not appreciate that, right? Because that's not what they need, the last thing they need at that moment in time. Polixenia, what do you think? Can we go to the next question, or is there something that I've forgotten?
Before we go to the next question, I wanted to touch a bit on the surge induction workshop. There is also a question in the chat from Erkimbek about training. Thank you everyone for all your questions. We will attend. We parked 5-10 minutes at the end for all your questions. A very interesting question from Michiko also in the chat. We'll touch upon that later. Talking about the surge induction workshop, we have done so far 27 surge induction workshops. Some of them were in person, 19 of them, and the last 8 surge induction workshops were virtual, were remote. We have trained over 700 UNDP staff. Some of them are now active surge advisor on the roster, about 500. 200 of them have already either moved to a senior management position or have left the organization. The surge induction workshop is the first entry point into the academy, right? You get a 2-week training where you get to know all about standard operating procedures and all the tools that you have in your backpack when you're going to be deployed. You get to learn about technical expertise, you get to learn about operations in crisis, you get some soft skills related to team building, communications, and everything you need in order to be prepared. The last part of the training is the simulation of an actual crisis. For 24 hours, the trainees in the training are being sent into a simulation, into a fictitious country called Samland that is affected by civil unrest. They have floods. It's a complex crisis there. And in 24 hours, within a team of 6-7 colleagues, exactly like it will happen in the field, they're requested to develop a surge plan and put together all the elements and to have a recovery vision for Samland. At the end of the simulation, we have also a crisis board, the one that Jan Thomas was also mentioning, that happens in reality, that is chaired at a very high level, senior management level. The deputy director of Crisis Bureau usually chairs that crisis board.
I'm looking around the room here. I see Eduardo laughing. Huh? I mean, we had good fun, right? When you are in the surge training course. This is now a fully virtual training course, but it can still be life-changing, I tell you. It can be better than the ones that we're used to go in a hotel and spend time together. The only thing we're missing is drinks together. But I mean, these training courses are really very good events. And of course, we will call on anybody who is interested and feels he has the surge bug somewhere deep down inside them to also sign up for those training courses, because we're running like 4 a year or something like that. And because the surge pool will also need to be fresh, right?
I think we're ready to move to the last question of the quiz and see who earns the points. A surge advisor is never, and this is your opportunity to input. A surge advisor is never, what can he?
It's a difficult one. This is an open question.
It's an open question. It can be anything.
Never is never what? Put them in, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, you give it a guess.
Exactly.
We have 11 seconds left. Don't hesitate. You will not be punished. You will only earn if you have the right answer. Can't go wrong. Yes.
Can we see some of the responses, Natalie? It's never tired, alone, bored, arrogant, insecure.
It's never arrogant. That's a
Arrogant.
good one.
Yes, humility is always in the backpack of a surge advisor. When you go into the field, you go with your heart, right? It's never sad. I like that one. Without a plan. A lot of people got the alone part. The word that we were looking for, alone. Lazy. I like that. A surge advisor is never lazy. We're there or unprepared. All these answers are the correct answers. All of them work towards our goal. We were thinking about the word alone. Is never alone because the surge advisors first goes there in a team, and the surge advisor is always supported by the community of surge advisors in the academy, right? We have there a group of 500 people that are always ready to exchange experience. If you're in the field and you need a TOR for a procurement process that you're doing, you just drop a line on the chat and the entire community can come and support. You're never alone on your mission. Jan Thomas, any
It's close to my heart,
reflections?
because if we send people out into difficult circumstances, particularly dangerous sometimes also, and lonely, right? I mean, people have been going on surge mission to Ukraine. It's strange, but you can be in a city where the rest of your colleagues are not, right? And maybe the bombs will fall close to you and not to them. It can be very alone also as a surge advisor. So that's why we are so keen to create this community. The community is something that's a standing community, right? We have a team space where we chat, where we exchange, and where we have these types of meetings, right? And where we call each other. When we know that there are some people in the field that are on an actual mission, we call them, we encourage them, we listen to their problems, we take a few little wisdoms from them. And guess what? Eri is in the room. Eri, where are you calling from?
Hi, Jan Thomas. Good day, colleagues.
Where are you?
On mission to Ukraine in Kyiv, but I pulled out on R&R in Poland.
Oh, you're currently on R&R. Eri is our surge advisor on mission in Ukraine. Eri, that whole idea that a surge advisor is never alone, does that ring a bell with you? And how?
Yes, it does, Jan Thomas, because in Ukraine, you're actually alone in the midst of all the noise and drama. So it's good. We have people around, people search, people we can drop emails, chat, even Skype, stay connected so that you know that you are not alone though you're alone, but you're not really alone, that you have people you could fall back on for support and guidance. And it's been quite good so far.
And we talked about before on the embedding in the country office. I mean, in the Ukraine country office, we find a very strong team already, right? But they were missing the head of HR, right? I mean, because some people are actually moving on from the Ukraine country office. I mean, I'm sure you have been well received, right? I mean, you can do teamwork there.
Yes, I mean, I have an excellent team. I mean, the Ukrainians are committed. I mean, they are surge people. They are on ground.
All of them, I know them.
All of them, Jan Thomas, you would cry when you see them work. Even with the bomb alarms going off, they are still working, they're still pushing. I'm like, they'll all carry me through it. So it's amazing with the team you have there. It's very, very amazing. At one point, I actually burst in tears seeing the people in the toilets working, having meetings in the toilet because there's raid going on and the toilet is the safest place. They're not thinking of their children, their family, and they're working.
Well, let us have an applause for our colleagues in Ukraine, in Pakistan, and in Afghanistan, because they have gone through very, very bad situations. And for some of us, the end is not even in sight. But what Eri is saying, I mean, for surge advisors to connect to the actual energy that is there in country, right? Don't think that you're bringing something new. You're there to fill a gap, right? Yes. And that is extremely important. In that sense, you will not feel alone because you will know that you're part of community, right? Whether that's the community of surge advisors or the community of the country office itself. Thank you so much, Harry. You're bringing me to tears, and my memories of Kiev. I hope you have a good time there, because it will always be superb, and nobody can change that, right? And we wish our colleagues there all the best. And as you know, the surge mechanisms are at your disposal in Ukraine and in any other country where this kind of horrible ordeal befalls us. So thanks, Harry. Just one more thing, maybe for those who are thinking about that. I mean, some of these situations are dangerous, right? And we will not hide it. We go in with a smile. At the same time, we're also not alone, in the sense that we're never doing anything stupid, right? And that's why I talk about security. I mean, we work very closely with the security office. We make sure that the people we send also, just like for our staff in country, that we look after them, that we know where they are, that there are armored vehicles available. You know, surge advisors are not doing something else, right? They're not being parachuted or something in a situation and barge in or something like that. This is proper UNDP business, right? You'll be well received and you'll be briefed. That doesn't mean you cannot get yourself into dicey situations. That's also why in our training course, we pay due attention to your behaviors also, right? As you know, that's what your security officer will tell you, that this security is primarily, first and foremost, your responsibility, right? You are making decisions on the spot on where to go, what to do, what not to do. And many times they bring you into dicey situations. Of course, we have backup with DSS and with our security people, but also in that sense, and repeat after me, a surge advisor is never alone, right? One of the lessons learned that I can already impose with you here, even though we are not in a training course. Polixenia, I'm sure you have something to add.
Yes, I would like us, I'm looking at the clock. I'm also the timekeeper of the session. We have 5 more minutes. Actually, we got to the time, but we have 5 more minutes that we can extend. I would kindly like Natalie to go to the next slide and see the board, to see who are our the top 3 finalists for this game. And we see Giordano, Robert Ford, and Matthias.
2 people with 100%.
100%. But Giordano got it quicker than Robert because he got more points, right? That means he answered quicker than Robert.
And those points will go forward in the overall rankings?
In the overall rankings, in your dashboard, those points will be assigned after this session. Jan Thomas, we have 4 more minutes for wrap up. And I would like to honor one question that we received in the chat that would probably also link into your closing remarks. We have a question for Michiko. She is asking about how does UNDP work within the UN system. Her question exactly is, have there been cases at which UNDP has asked to provide the drive capacity to teams of other funds and programs on the ground? How is UNDP playing the integrator role in surge response?
Well, thank you, Michiko. It's a very, very good question, which of course somehow in flux also since the delinking, right? I mean, before the delinking, it was very much done in UNDP to actually provide services to other agencies, programmatically and also operationally. That has changed somewhat and somehow. But still, there is a lot of elements, of course. I mean, in the first place, our plans, even our surge plans, are not done in isolation, right? And very often, invariably, they take place within the context of this humanitarian community, the humanitarian country team, right? And that's where also in terms of coordinating that humanitarian community, in terms of clusters, UNDP is very often deeply involved, and also surge advisors can be asked. I remember, or not remember, it's going on right now. I mean, the mine action cluster in Ukraine, for example, which is a humanitarian cluster, right, is led by a UNDP person, and we're actually surging for that, right? So those are UNDP responsibilities. Secondly, on the operational front, it's also UNDP remains the backbone for so many agencies, right? Including OCHA for that matter, or the coordinating agency of the humanitarian structures. And I was just looking at the list of recruitments that UNDP is supposed to be doing in Ukraine, because we have a rapidly expanding program. But you will see that 1/3 of the vacancies are actually agency vacancies, right? So those services to UN agencies are continuing. That said, it is very uneven between countries, right? And that is also because our interpretation of our role as integrator and also in the humanitarian peace and development nexus is interpreted or is playing out differently in different countries, right? And there's also different traditions in different countries. But certainly as a surge mechanism and system, we're fully supportive, right? But of course, it needs to be the plan, it needs to be the vision of a RESREP, her deputies, who guide us and say, you know, we need this, we want that, because that is good for UNDP and for the system. So as a surge mechanism, we would definitely support all these things. And very often, actually, those agencies are also coming up with the money for doing some of these things, right? Or for doing having some of these coordinators and having some of those staff. So in terms of money spent, very often we find ourselves also in a collaboration modus with UN agencies. But it's uneven, and it's not totally predictable how it pans out in individual countries. And in the Crisis Bureau, we're aware of that also, that's something we want to tighten up, right? Stronger guidance and better corporate direction on the HDP nexus is something that Crisis Bureau is absolutely working on under the crisis offer. That's something we will ask Asako, right, when she comes in the next hour after this one, to see how that pans out for her. Thank you. We can also, is there a question here or there? You can we can have a hand, right, for somebody who has a good question around the Surge Academy.
1 minute,
Something,
because we have a second round, Jan Thomas, starting at the top of the hour, and we need to take a few minutes for a break.
We want to take a little break. We have a question for somebody. I see Vijay.
Yes, thank you very much for all of this. It's exciting. I think in the field, you see that the UNDP, especially in the crisis countries, is playing a very interesting role between humanitarian and development. And I think there's a real merging going on. If the Crisis Bureau can take a lead in seeing how because the humanitarian situations, remember, we are there in the long term. A lot of humanitarian organizations are short term. And if you look at UNMIL and all the other UN missions, we take over. And I think Surge has a real important role in saying to them, look, we're here to stay. And we can, I mean, a lot of the transitional, especially in the Ebola crises, this is where UNDP plays a key role. And I think Surge really has the ability of bringing people who have WHO experience, other agency experiences to the table. So I'd like to see something on that as something as we go forward. Sorry.
Well, Vijay, you're nailing the hammer on the head. No, what is that? You're hitting it on the head. That's extremely important. In fact, we have a whole academy. We have 2 academies devoted to this, right? We have a Nexus Academy, and we have one Nexus Academy that is multi-stakeholder, where we actually engage with the other agencies on what is the Nexus and how to play the Nexus, what is people's roles in the Nexus. But we also have a UNDP Nexus Academy, because we also believe that UNDP staff and UNDP offices need to be very clear about what that is. Where are those opportunities? And as Michiko was saying, those are opportunities for integration, right? HDP Nexus is an integration exercise, right? So we have academies for that. And when we go in the second round, I'm bridging now, in 10 minutes, that is, in 8 minutes, why don't you join the Nexus Academy for the next hour? You'll find out what's going on there, because this is a big theme in UNDP, and also as a Crisis Academy, we're on it. Very exciting stuff happening on that side, whether it's for UNDP proper or for us as part of the system, the humanitarian system. So very good question. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to having you in the Surge Academy, particularly those who feel that they still smile hearing all this, because believe me, it can be a little bit tough, right? If you feel this is yours And that doesn't mean you have to be in a crisis country now, right? Maybe you will be in a crisis country after this, or you have been in the past. But also those who come from WHO, who have a background in UNICEF, who can bridge those things. Very, very great material to work with in our surge training courses. Then you can also join the campus, join us in our call-ins, get in touch with Erhi when you want to in Ukraine. I mean, this is very, very pleasant and very inspirational work that we're doing, I believe. I always look forward to have so many people on the screen and just have a chat, because it's not only about work, right? It's not only about the technologies and the methodologies and the project documents. It's also about us. Do we still like this? Are we ready for this? Are we confident? Or are we scared? Are we in the corner? Are we feel meek about these things? So we pay a lot of attention to that in our Surge Academy, and we are very proud of our brand. And that's why we would love to welcome you there. And increasingly, we will also make some space for other agencies, because I believe our systems can be compared to the systems of other agencies, and we can grow and learn a little bit. That said, this brings us to the end. Oh, Polixeni, you're going to wrap it up, of course.
Yes, I'm going to wrap it up. Please, you have a button on your corner which says leave room. Do not leave the meeting, just leave the room. We have 2 more rounds going. Please join the main room for a break. We only have 6 more minutes of a break. But it was an interesting discussion. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for playing the games. We're going to continue with another 3 breakout rooms for Nexus, Surge Data Hub, and conflict prevention. So please join one of them at the top of the hour. And in the last round from 10, we're going to have our guest Asako Okai, the director of the Crisis Bureau, and Achim Steiner, our administrator. So please take a short break before we move to the next round. Please click the blue button on the corner of the screen which says leave room. Not leave the meeting. Just
we leave the room, but we stay in the plenary. See you on the other side.
See you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.